So the first of six finals today kicks off with junior match, and this could be the deciding moment where the title might get decided, or could it be down to the last gasp this afternoon. The grid is as follows. On the front row, it's Oli Pilka from Poland, alongside the defending champion, looking to make it two in a row, Mike van Vugt from the Netherlands. Danny van Dijk and Austria's Charlie Wirtz line up on row two, with Maurice Schmeis and Vilgot Edqvist, who just trails Van Vugt by just 4 points coming into this weekend on row three. Completing the top 10, it's Lucas Schoenmakers, Silas Ritter, Alexander Abskava and Ethan Coetzee from South Africa. Marcel Sermach and Nikita Genza complete the sixth row ahead of Jeffrey Fixer and Gianni Andrisani. Milan Ritter and Kai Gelertz complete the top 16 ahead of Maurice Schuring, Valentin Klus, Dante Rapagne, Christian de Klein, Flint Schuring, Tobias Poschik, Zen Rudenberg and Marcel Reisenberger in the last of the 24 grid slots. This time it's a little bit further in terms of race time, 10 minutes plus an additional lap for both, 11 minutes plus an additional lap for both Junior Max finals, whereas DD2 Masters and Senior Max will compete over 14 minutes plus an additional lap. The red lights are ignited on the starting gantry for the first of six finals. So the top 10 is Pilka, Van Vugt, Van Dijk, Wirtz, Schmeis, Edqvist, Schoenmakers, Ritter, Abskava and Coetzee. We had an exciting conclusion to the qualifying heats yesterday afternoon in both Junior and Senior Max, and now the action is going to go up past volume setting number 10. It's going to hit at least 11, but in the next 11 minutes plus one additional lap, we will find out what could be, as I mentioned earlier, the deciding moments in the first of four titles that will be decided this very day here in Bavaria. So with all 24 drivers in the side-by-side rolling start formation, they enter into the tram lines. The Rotax Max engines roar into life, and we go lights out. Van Vugt gets jumped by Van Dijk through turn one already, and it's side-by-side a little bit further down the order. 2, 3 abreast maybe going into turn four for the first time. But Pilka starting to get away, and there's been a major accident. And there's one car with the front wheels off the ground on the outside. We'll make that two carts who are stuck together at the minute. Drivers frantically trying to regain the carts back on all four wheels and get back onto the asphalt as the remainder of the field starts making their way through the exit of turn 9 into the left at turn 10, whereas the leaders are now on the short blast down from turn 11 into turn 12. Pilka leads. Van Vugt in second, Van Vugt in third behind Van Dijk, and just behind is Maurice Schmeis. Then I think now a little bit further back, just keeping an eye on what's been going on. The two drivers involved, one of them was Charlie Wirtz, the other one was Alexander Abskava. So those guys are now having to fight their way back from the back end of the field. Vilgot Edqvist in the meantime is trying to make up positions and has done so. He's up to 6 at the moment behind Lucas Schoenmakers. And now it is a looks to be a 4-cart train from second to fifth position. A little bit further back, you've got Edqvist being followed by the number 247, and that is of Milan Ritter, started 15th, as both Abskava and Wirtz are battling between themselves for 23rd and 24th position respectively, as there's a great little move there from Lucas Schoenmakers up the inside of Maurice Schmeis through turn 12. So that is a positional change for fourth. Gap between first and second is being closed down. It was just over half a second last time around between Pilka and Van Dijk, but Van Dijk is bringing along Van Vugt with him. So at the moment, this puts Van Vugt on 16 points, and where Edqvist is at the moment, the gap is, well, that would be 5 points in terms of the gap. So it would further extend it to 9 in the favour of Van Vugt in terms of a real-time championship virtual championship standing. But Van Vugt is now going to be consistent. He knows that he needs to finish just a handful of points ahead following drop scores in front of Vilgot Edqvist to do the double in Euro Trophy history in just its second season alone. 8 minutes and 33 on the clock, plus an additional lap. Full running order is as follows. Oli Pilkers followed by Danny Van Dijk, Mike Van Vugt, Lucas Schoenmakers, Maurice Schmeis, Vilgot Edqvist, We've got Ritter in the 2:47, Andrisani now up into 8th, and as I say that, Mike van Voost has got past Danny Van Dijk for 2nd position. And he made the move through at turn 3 and got it done by the hairpin at turn 4. So now the chase is on. Van Voost wants to extend this gap, and that's now put him on 20 points. And with Edqvist is ahead of Minen Ritter, who's definitely showing some good pace in 7th position at the minute. So Edqvist would score 10 points. Van Voost would have a further 10 points, and that would bridge his gap up to 14. So let's see how much the gap has closed. Well, Van Voost was quite a lot quicker that lap and set the fastest lap of the process, 50.766. Pelka did a 51.132, but has got no real assistance. And the top 5 separated by just 1.3 seconds at this moment. So the top 10 is completed by Silas Ritter in 10th place, Marcel Sermach in 11th, ahead of Jeffrey Fixer. Then we've got Rapagne, Genser, Kurtzi, Plus, Decline, Poschik, Schuring, Rudenberg, Heisenberger, Rielertz, Abskava and Wirtz, who are still battling, and they are going through the right-hander at turn 7. Leaders at the moment now coming around the final corner. Van Voost is now in the tow. He's now got this chance to really stamp his authority on the last finals day of the season, and he was just under 0.2 of a second behind Pelka. He's really close going through the exit of turn 4, into the left at turn 5. Van Dijk is trying to fend off Lucas Schoenmakers for 3rd position. Maurice Schmeiss has just got the ringside seat in 6th place, whereas Minen Ritter is having to battle now with Gianni Andrisani. Andrisani had to start a little bit further down the order due to being excluded from the heat last night after being found to be underweight. So he's had to start a little bit further down the order, whereas now Kai Rielertz has dropped to the tail end of the field, and I think he might have parked up. So it's a real shame for the young Belgian, who was running in the top 10 in his last qualifying heat yesterday. Van Voost not able to make any inroads because Pelka has now started to respond. However, there's a nice move from Silas Ritter up the inside of Maurice Schuring. And that is for 9th place. So the top 5 really starting to break away now. So you've got the likes of Andrisani, Ritter, Schuring and the other Ritter in the 2:44. They seem to be embroiled in their own 5-way scrap as the top 5, well, the top 2 have broken away a little bit more by about half a second, as there has been a change for 3rd place as Danny Van Dijk has lost out to Lucas Schoenmakers. Maurice Schmeiss just keeping quite close to them, but close enough not to have to worry about taking dramatic avoiding action if the 2 in front tangle, whereas Van Voost has got his head down. He's right on the back bumper of Pelka, heading into turns 2 and 3. Can't get past the Polish driver from Dan Holland Racing quite yet, as we've gone now into less than 5 minutes to go. And there was a definitely great move there from Maurice Schuring, who tried to go around the outside of Silas Ritter through turn 3 and was hung out to dry on the outside. So has lost a couple of positions as a result of that, and is entrenched in even more wars a bit further down the field. And now the gap between 2nd and 3rd, which is from Van Voost to Lucas Schoenmakers, who are teammates at JJ Racing, is now to the tune of just over 8.5 tenths. So 4 minutes and 14 left on the clock to go in the first of 2 finals here that will crown our Junior Max title in champion in 2019. And the gap has been staying equidistant at the moment between Pelka and Van Voost. Drivers that have lost out, looks like the 2:14 of Maurice Schuring has lost out a couple of places. He's down in 12th position behind Nikita Genser, who rounds out the top 10. And then the 2:47 of Minen Ritter. The gap looks to be extending now between Ollie Pelka and Mike Van Voost, but Van Voost can probably identify where Vilgot Edqvist is on the track at the moment. He's still circulating in 6th place. So before drop scores, this puts advantage to Van Voost who has to keep it nice and clean over this race and the next one, as the leaders go across the start-finish line to start lap number 10, and the gap is now extended between Pilker and Van Voost. Van Voost just needs to score as many points as possible right now to give himself the biggest advantage possible and put him on the front row once again for the second final later on today, which takes place at 1 o'clock local time. But the fastest lap does go to Mike Van Voost at the moment, who on lap number 7 circumnavigated the track here at Wackersdorf in just over 50.7 seconds. As the battle between now Schmeis, who has got past Van Dijk for 4th position. So Maurice Schmeis now trying to close up on Luca Schoenmakers, and is doing so going through the exit of turn 13 into turn 14, has the slipstream advantage heading into turns 1, 2, 3, and there he goes up the inside. Great move from Maurice Schmeis to take 3rd place. So we've got the last 2 minutes and 19 plus an additional lap to go. The running order is Ollie Pilker from Mike Van Voost, Maurice Schmeis, Lucas Schoenmakers, Danny Van Dijk. Vilgot Edqvist is a little bit on his own. Well, he is quite clearly on his own, ahead of the 2:44 of Silas Ritter, who's battling who's behind Gianni Andrissani at the minute, or is he? No, he's ahead. So Ritter takes 7th, Andrissani 8th, Marcel Sermach and Nikita Genser round out the top 10. Then it's Mylan Ritter. Then you've got the 2:14 of Maurice Schuring, Jeffrey Fixer, Valentin Klus, Christian de Klein, Ethan Kurtzi, who's down in 16th, Dante Rapagne. You've got Poschik, Reisenberger, Flint Schuring, Zen Rudenberg, Alexander Abskarva, with Charlie Wirtz rounding out the 23 that are still circulating, as Kai Hielertz unfortunately retired back on lap number 5. So hopefully we'll see the young Belgian come back in the second final. And as I spoke to him and his mum and dad, he's been getting a lot of track time as JJ Racing want to help his progress forwards, and he's been doing that this weekend. As just keeping an eye now on Van Voost and Pilker, as we have just over 60 seconds to go. The gap last time around was 0.3 of a second between Pilker and Van Voost. Edqvist really hasn't got an answer for Van Voost, who is absolutely flying at the moment, as they go into turns 13, now into the right at 14, full throttle all the way through, over the start-finish line, through turns 1, 2, now into the right-hand sweeper at 3, and the gap was just slightly truncated by Van Voost, who again goes faster than Pilker, but by just 7 1/1000ths of a second. And between Schmeis, Schoenmakers and Van Dijk, and the positional changes happen. Lucas Schoenmaker goes up the inside very cleanly on Maurice Schmeis, who tries to counter-attack through turn 6, but can't get it done. So we've got 17 on the clock. The battle for 3rd is clearly heating up, as there's another change. Schmeis goes back past Schoenmakers, who tries to go around the outside, and Van Dijk is going to try and go up the inside of Schoenmakers, does the move. Schoenmakers retaliates and gets back into 4th, but now it's going to be the last lap for the first final, and Van Voost, it will be his advantage. It will be his to lose a bit later on when we start at 1 o'clock. With the last final of the day for Junior Max, as there's some great side-by-side action just outside of the top 10. So through turn 6 come the leaders for the final time, into the right-hander at 7. Now through 8, into the last of the triple right-hander at 9, through into the square left at 10. Van Voost hasn't really had to worry about attacking Pilker, because he knows he's been calculating all along how many points he's going to get. And this is obviously subject to, these are provisional results pending any sporting and technical checks. But round the final couple of corners from Poland, it's going to be the 2:02 of Ollie Pilker that wins the first of 6 finals here, and the first of 2 in Junior Max by just over 0.4 of a second. And it's game on. It's advantage Van Voost. Edqvist on the back foot. Van Voost takes 2nd, with Maurice Schmeis making it 3 different nationalities in the top 3. Lucas Schoenmakers makes it 4 in the top 5, as does Danny Van Dijk, with the top 5 separated by just 3 seconds. So Pilker takes the win ahead of Van Voost, Schmeis, Schoenmakers, Danny Van Dijk. Then it's the 2:44 of Silas Ritter, Gianni Andrissani, Marcel Sermach, And Myron Ritter round out the top 9 with Vilgot Edqvist ending up in 10th position at the end of it, because he was given a post-race 5-second penalty for causing a collision. That means that the gap is going to be well over 15 points at the end of this race. Then it's Nikita Genzer, Valentin Plus, Maurice Schuring, Christian de Klein, Jeffrey Fixer, Ethan Kurtzi, Dante Rapagni, Marcel Heisenberger, Tobias Porschik, Zen Rudenberg, Alexander Abskava, Flint Schuring, and Charlie Wirtz rounding out the 23 that finished, with Kai Rielertz finishing on lap number 5.